right, the other thing is to think about the effort by category. So the complexity, there's different complexity and for doing each one of these types of things, like glossary or data system or whatever, and various level of human curation needed. So when we first started doing this, and this is maybe one highlight takeaway for you, we first started, we falsely or incorrectly thought that the business glossary is the easy thing. Let's start with the business glossary. Have people start with the business glossary and then move on from there, because it's this, it's not technical. It's pretty straightforward, writing definitions for things or whatever. But we could not have been more wrong about that. The business glossary is one of the most complicated and one of the most curation-heavy activities. And the reason is that it requires humans to make decisions and to collaborate and agree on things. And it's one of the hardest things to do. So that doesn't mean it's not important and not something that should be done early, but you need to be eyes wide open that that's a large amount of effort to do, because it requires a significant amount of curation and has a significant amount of complexity. Now, what originally was thought to be hard is the data system catalog, identifying your different data systems, getting the data model information, importing, getting all that set up, because it seemed like a technical hurdle. But once you get past a few of those technical hurdles, and systems like ours and a lot of new data governance, data catalog systems support this, can automate that process of importing in all the data model information, as is. And so that can be something that can be done relatively simply, and having that can help support that. So as you look at each piece of content, think about what the level of effort. And the effort, in my opinion, there's a certain amount of complexity, in creating automation and import that maybe is hard. But the real effort you want to look at is what the curation effort is. And you want to think about the value and timing of when you ask people to curate information. We'll talk about exactly what that means. The other thing to think about is level of required approval. So depending on what you're trying to do, sometimes people put in unnecessarily and sometimes necessarily. It's important to understand why you're doing it. Put in multiple levels of approval on things. So another mistake I think that we made, because we have, our tool supports a pretty sophisticated, customizable workflow for approvals, is that we said, hey, we've got a new glossary definition. Let's get everyone in the universe to approve it within an organization. And oftentimes there'd be 3, 4, 5, 6 levels of approval for a definition. Well, my current position on that is you should have 0 levels of approval. That it should be, you should empower people to write definitions and approve it if they have that authority without needing to go to approval, but give people the option to escalate it or request approval if necessary. Now, I'm not sure that 0 is the right method. You might want to have 1 or 2, but every time you add an approval layer, you are multiplying, the effort. The people have to go monitor that. Do I have something to approve? Look at it, figure out what the context is of it, and then make a decision. What you find is that the vast majority of people who are doing approvals are, it's rare to reject something. So what my recommendation is to say, empower people who have the authority to self-approve, but then celebrate and encourage people to, if they find a definition that's out there that's approved, or something that's out there approved, and they've got an objection or a recommendation or a change, to let them submit a change, right, to that. And that's a better way to think about it. But the levels of approval are important. Access to expertise can also create, effort problems if you don't have the experts involved, or it's hard to get those experts. The longer something has been since it was created, it can really add effort. So if you've got 1,000 reports in your organization, and you're going to look back and try to document all of those, which we don't really recommend to start with, but you want to go back and say, hey, this report was created 10 years ago, and none of the people that were here are still here. It's really hard to document those in an effective way. So think about that. Of course, the ability to automate discovery, whatever, if the tools and systems that you have are capable of having their metadata discovered, that is going to help dramatically. And then lastly, the quality of that automated discovery. So if what you're able to get out of there is, complete and accurate, is help. So thinking about the content, there's different effort around the content based on all these things.